We now welcome onto the pod special guest. He's a VFL QB1, also host of the EA show on 99.1. Do we mention Brian Rice? Thanks for coming on,
Man,
Eric. We appreciate it.
what's up, guys? How are we?
Good, man.
Doing
Good.
doing good. Doing good.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Man, if it looks like I'm crying, I'm not. But my neighbor Wally just brought some jalapenos over there, and they're like so hot. And of course, I'm like, let's zoom.
Yeah, just foaming at the mouth.
I'm ready though. What's going on?
Dude, shout out to Wally though. Those are good jalapenos then if they've got you lit up like that.
I'm getting a head shake from Susan that they're too hot for her too. So no.
Okay.
We had our bites. We're done.
There you go.
Well, speaking of today felt like football season. What do you think? Are we ready?
It's fall-ish. It's fallish.
Mhm.
It's a little muggy, but yeah, it's early. I'm ready.
Yeah.
What's so I do want to ask as a guy who's obviously been there, what's this build up like week one? You're getting out of fall camp, or I guess you're technically out of fall camp now. You're I guess for a quarterback, you don't, you've been wearing the red shirt the whole time. You may be ready to get hit by this point. What's that build up like to game one?
I mean, I feel like so much of it is schematic. Like you go against your own, it's ones against ones. We go over and watch practice, and they'll do scrimmage reps, even when it's not one of the scrimmages. At the end of practice, they'll still scrimmage, and it's like they're hyper, they're excited. Then you get to the end of practice, the energy changes, the music gets cranked up louder. They start chirping and talking trash to each other, and it's football. And then you go to mock game week last week and into this week, and all that's kind of out. You still do like 7-on-7 and stuff, but for the most part, you're going against the scout team. It's Tennessee versus the walk-ons and some freshmen doing the scout team for what they think Virginia's going to do. So it's like you shift from that like physical, grueling, hand in the dirt, losing 10 pounds of practice, going crazy, to more slightly reserved, watching the other guys get the reps, looking at what they're trying to do. It's game plan, walkthrough, practice. Then you kind of get in that, Mondays we do this, Tuesday, inside run, goal line, short yardage. Today, third down, red zone, drop back pass, and you're implementing the game plan. And that to me was always by far the most fun part of football and practice, other than, game day and fans and the pomp and circumstance. But it was here's what they do, here's our plan, here's how we're going to attack it. You go through practice, you make a mistake, and then you see why you're doing it, and it makes your alignment, you know you have to step with that left foot first because the guy's going to try to cross your face, and then you go watch film, and sure enough it happens, and you just start like piecing it all together, getting ready for tomorrow, which is full speed run through, do the whole game plan, and then it's off to Nashville, man.
Yeah, that's it sucks for the freshmen, man. Their first college road experience, and they've just got to get on a bus. They don't even get the chartered plane.
Yeah, right.
Was going to Vanderbilt for so many reasons the worst part of playing at Tennessee?
So, yeah, and I was going my freshman year. I was hurt, and so and this is kind of funny. We go to Vanderbilt. Me, a walk-on guy from Brentwood Academy named JT Wash, and because if you're hurt, you don't travel.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went there on Friday or whatever. We're just going to go to the game, and we're walking to the stadium. Team's already there. We're just walking to the stadium, and I just like walked up and walked in with him, and I was like, "Don't we like need a ticket or like have to call someone on the team?" He was like, "No, they don't care. Anyone can come in here." I was like, "Literally anybody can just walk." And he was. So we literally walked in. So here I am, freshman, injured quarterback Erik Ainge with my Tennessee shirt on. We just walked in and walked on the field. I mean, we belonged there, but they didn't know that.
Right. Well,
that's awesome.
You might have an easier time. I'm not 6'4". It's not
as
easy for me.
Now you just have to wear a hard hat to get into that stadium,
right?
Yeah, just stay away from their scoreboard.
Yeah, it might blow on you. So you kind of talked about some game week and just the locker room and kind of what the atmosphere looks like. So Tennessee is kind of like a brotherhood. We've heard that from a lot of VFLs that we've had on. What is do you still get to stay in touch with some of those guys that you played with?
Yeah, for sure. And it's fun too, because when I go over there now, Dustin Colquitt's over there, coaching kickers, and Robert Ayers is over there coaching defensive linemen with Rodney Garner, and there's some support staff over there, and Scott Altizer, who's I guess he's the director of player. I don't know what his title is, but he was the guy that actually watched my recruiting film out of high school first
Okay.
under Coach Fulmer. And he left for a little bit, and then he's back. So there's still a lot of familiar faces over there. And I'll tell you what, guys, it's nice. So I've gone over there with every coach. Not Kiffin. I was living in New York then, but by the time Dooley got back, last couple of years I was around, I'd go watch practice with his staff, and some of the guys, knew what they were talking about. And under Butch, it was really different. And I'd hear some stuff that I was like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, there's not one way to do anything, right? In football, there's a lot of different ways to get the job done. Pruitt defensively, I really liked what he taught, how he taught it, and how he talked to the guys. I don't know how they didn't just fight him half the time. But it's nice now because I go over there and I can follow Burns. I can follow any of them. Ellerby. I can walk from Martinez, whatever. I can walk around and listen to these guys coach, and I'm like, man, they're doing it right. They're teaching the right fundamentals. They're saying the right things. We were over watching practice. Susan and I were over there watching practice. This is at the end of practice. I probably shouldn't say this. I said it on the radio, and one guy isn't looking at Coach Heupel, and he lost it on him. You got 125 guys. One guy wasn't listening right at the end of practice. His eyes on me, all eyes on me. I mean, it was like a side of him that I hadn't really seen before. He's always kind of calm, and with the media, and he's a really like players coach. Like he gets after you, but he's not like a screamer necessarily. But he ripped him a new one quick, and then right when that Joe Milton brought the whole team in and said, "Coach shouldn't have to talk to us like that." And they had to go. I thought they had a good practice, but one guy wasn't looking. Then he said, "Remember when we couldn't get the goal line substitution in the pit game their first year?" He said it's a little thing. We ended up we didn't score. We lost. He's like, it's little things. If I say eyes, I want every single eyeball out here. What's the little thing going to be this year for this team? And I just like going over there and listening to that. Like you have an alpha type A. When I talk, you listen, do what I tell you to do, but like they love him for it at the same time. I think we got a really good staff over there right now.
Yeah. Do you feel like we want to talk about this year, obviously, do you feel like the expectations and how they approach practice or just, approach the weight room, whatever it may be, do you feel like the expectations for this year have almost changed because of last year? Or do you think it looks kind of all the same? Like, hey, we expect to win. We're going to go do this.
It's like different a little bit. I didn't expect us to go 11-2 and win the Orange Bowl last year. I had higher expectations. We could have been 9-3 their first year. We easily could have beat Pitt and Ole Miss, and we could have been sitting there as a 9-3 football team trying to win 10 in a bowl game. So we were close. Even with a 7-6 record, they were probably better than that. But I don't know that I saw 52-49 and winning some of the games the way that they did. So I think the difference is, I said this to Chris Doring and Jacob Hester today. I said, just because some guys leave doesn't mean the expectation has to change. I think they expect to win every game they play. I don't, I remember Heupel said it earlier in this offseason. Someone asked him something like that, and he said, well, we're not expecting to lose. We're going to try to win them all. And that's what it should be, and we never did when I was in school, but there was never a game on the schedule that in preseason we looked at the schedule. Now you guys might be different following it then, but we never looked at a game and went, well, we know we can't win that one, but we're going to try to win the other 11. We looked at all 12, but there's no reason we shouldn't win every single one of those. No, we didn't. We were 9-3 3 years out. We didn't do that, but we never went into a game going, I don't know, all shucks, these guys are really good. I mean, we were too, and so is Tennessee right now. No one wants to play Tennessee. Nobody. No one wants to game plan for our offense. We're bigger, stronger, faster than we've ever been, than we've been recently. We have a ton of skill players. We have some depth finally. No one looks at the Tennessee game on their schedule and they're excited to play us because we're Tennessee, but is excited about the roster and the scheme and all that. It's a pain in the butt. Play us is hard.
Yeah, when Josh Heupel, I remember when he first got the job, it was one of the press conferences. I don't think it was the first one, but it was shortly after. He was just like, they were asking him about the roster and what it looked like. And he was like, I mean, we're going to go in with what we got. And he didn't have to worry about, who we're going to get in the transfer portal, who we're going to get in recruiting, this and that. It was just like, this is what I have in front of me, and this is what we got to work with. That's when it kind of changed my mind. I was like, maybe I am on board with this guy.
I just think that's, I mean, to me, there's the Deion Sanders route, right? Where you go, there's no way I can win with these guys. So I'm going to 80 new guys.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like that's a path, but you also, like Heupel, and he said this early too, and then he lived this with them, which is why they all bought in so fast. But he didn't treat them like they weren't his guys. And then when we follow, we say, well, he has his first recruiting class. He has these transfers. These are his guys that he went out and got. Joe Milton was no different to him than Hendon Hooker or any of the other guys on the roster. They were all his guys. You got the jersey on. If you wanted to leave. He wasn't chasing guys. There are 30 guys left or whatever. Right. You got Henry T saying, he never tried to, called me or tried to convince me to stay. And I like that. This is Tennessee, and this is our team. If you want to be here and do what we say. But if you don't, we're not going to beg you to be here either. I just think that's an approach as a player. No wonder those guys that stuck around all got better. No wonder Darnell Wright and Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman, and you're going to see it this year. I think Ramel's going to have a great year. You see all these guys that stuck around, bought in, and had ownership in the program, in their program, in the Power T, and it meant something to them. And that makes going to work every day a whole lot easier. That makes practice when it's hard a whole lot easier. When you feel like you're actually with your teammates, your brothers, the coaches believe in you. They went from having coaches that were, never pointed out the good stuff and we're always all over. I mean, there's different ways to coach. The foot up the butt route, like Pruitt does, is fine if you're coaching a bunch of 5-stars that know they're about to make millions. But when you're coaching a bunch of beat up 3-stars that have never won anything, they might need a hug every once in a while. Right. And I kind of came in and did that. Kind of gave them that approach and almost empowered them to believe they could be good. Mm-hmm. And that's not just going to happen. You got to go do the work. You got to listen. If I say all eyes on me, all eyes on me. If you'll do what we say, you will get better. And then they all individually saw themselves getting better collectively as a unit, as a receiver unit or quarterback or whatever. They saw themselves getting better. And then as a team, you saw that kind of blossom last year. Those guys believed they were the stuff. Yeah. I think caught them a little bit in that South Carolina game. Maybe they believed it a little too much, had some other stuff going on in the locker room. But other than that, I don't think that'll ever happen again. You got a good football coach. That kind of stuff happens in programs. And like he pointed out in practice, I told you about, now he said he pointed back to 2 years ago to a substitution issue they had that cost them a football game. I've been saying everyone's all, oh, Kentucky's a trap game. No, it's not. He's going to get those guys on Monday of the Kentucky game and go, hey, remember when we thought we were better in South Carolina last year? Remember how you felt? Remember how you still feel? Are we going to have that kind of game again? Are we going to have that kind of weak practice? You guys going to get mad at each other? Almost like passive aggressive. And they'll want to throw up, and then they'll go right to work, and we'll do what we always do, and we'll beat the crap out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about after last year's Kentucky. Yeah, please do. All right, so you as a quarterback, see Josh Heupel, this system, it just looks like fun. Is this a system 17, 18-year-old Erik Ainge wants to play in, and do you thrive in it?
So, I don't think you have to be a good runner to be for him. To be good for Josh Heupel, you have to know on every RPO, am I handing it off or am I slinging it out there real quick? And I had a quick release and a good arm. I could have easily handed it. I'm not going to keep it on the zone read. I'm going to hand if I'm not throwing it out there, I'm handing it off. But it's nice when you have that. And I think you just have seen that change in college football period. These guys that used to be shortstops and center fielders are now, they're 6'3" and playing left field hitting dingers. Now they're dual threat quarterbacks. And you just kind of seen that part of the game evolve. I don't think he has to have a guy to do that, but it's nice if you do, and I think that their system is simple, but it's complex, but it's simple, and that's what you want to do as a football coach. You're trying to make something that's really complicated as easy as you can. As a quarterback, you don't always have to know what coverage it is. You don't have to know, is it 6 quarters, 2 kick weak, 2 man. You don't have to know every time, but on some plays you got to know, is it 1 high or 2 high? Is it single high? Is it cover 1 or cover 3? Mm-hmm. Or is it some sort of 2 deep look? If it's a drop back pass, you probably need to know if it's 2 or 4, but you get one little read and you got it. And sometimes on a lot of passing plays, you just have to know what it's not. If it's I don't know what coverage it is, but I know there's one guy back there, so it's not two. And as long as it's not two, I got to play over here on the strong side. So they teach that stuff so well. And Halsley, he's the OC now, but he's still over there. I mean, he's coaching the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe's had the same voice teaching him this stuff now going on 3 years, and he's got the same guru head coach who's been grooming him and developing him mentally, physically, emotionally, leadership wise, all that stuff. And he knows it, and it's evident. The dude hadn't thrown a pick in practice. I mean, his decision making, I know his arm's great and all that stuff's great. I'm telling you right now, the thing I've been the most impressed with him in training camp is what he's choosing to do with the football. Yeah, he plays like that, then those Sports Center plays will happen. He'll scramble and spin off a guy and throw it 85 yards, and we'll all go. But that's great. That's great. That's twice a game. I want to know on 1st and 10, is he handing it off when he's supposed to? Throwing the RPO? Is he accurate? Is he not taking sacks? Is he taking care of the football? If the dude just plays quarterback and lets Heupel's system work for him like Hooker did. Hooker wasn't a superhero. He just did what the offense allows you to do if you don't try to do too much. Then once in a while, make some plays, and if you want to knock off a Bama or a Georgia, you're going to have to go 45 yards on 2 chunk plays to kick a field goal. You're not, that kind of stuff. Joe will have to do that too to win some of those games. But he doesn't have to be a superhero to beat South Carolina or Kentucky or Florida on the road. He just has to play quarterback and let Heupel, let the system work for him.
Yeah, and they've kind of done more with less. I would say, they don't have all the dudes like a Georgia and Alabama. You're talking about knocking them off. It seems like in recruiting right now, it's only getting better. So can you kind of see this team just, here we are winning, 11 games. Is this kind of what this team's going to be? Is worrying about losing to Vanderbilt or Kentucky, is that over?
I don't think, Vandy probably. I don't know. Swan looked all right actually in that game. Their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
But I think Kentucky's not a bad football team this year. I think Leary's twice the college player that Levis is. Maybe doesn't have the NFL ceiling or whatever, but as far as college go, that's all that matters is we're playing college football this year. Leary's a good player. Rattler, if he plays like he did at the end of the year last year when that light bulb came on for him, he's a really good player. We're going to play Frank Harris kid at UTSA has like 99 touchdowns and 11,000 yards. We're going to play against a lot of guys that are good enough to put some points up. I think the thing for Tennessee is going to be, can we be good enough on defense? We know we're going to score points. Can we be good enough on defense to have an okay day on offense and still get out of there with a win?
Yeah.
I know we beat Florida last year. That's great. But we were terrible on defense. We only beat them by 5. We were definitely 5 points better than those guys. But 38-33, you turn around and Anthony Richardson has 450 yards of passing. We're pressured. We can't sack him. He's running all over the place. Their guys are wide open. If we
can't
play
tackle.
Oh my gosh, man! Like if we play like that, it's losing to Kentucky or Carolina or Florida or any of those. That's absolutely on the table. They have studs too, but if they execute and play to the, just play. They don't have to play great. If they just go out and play Tennessee football, tackle, keep it in front, play smart, don't turn it over. We're going to put up enough points that it's going to be hard for people to outscore us. And that's always probably going to be the thing with them. We don't have to have a top 5 defense. We just have to not miss 10 tackles and drop 2 picks and look back at the score and go, man, we gifted them 21 points. I mean, what do we want? If they just don't play like that, they'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Florida. On paper, it's preseason. We don't know until we know, unfortunately, at this point. But Florida, this looks like one of the more, I don't want to say just terrible because they're not a terrible football team, but they're just not up to Florida standards. Not the Floridas you played. Not, certainly not the one that played in the SEC championship just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Is the Swamp going to present that much of a problem? This team hadn't won here since 2003. Is that going to, like, if this is a home game, are we almost saying like we know we should go win it? You just talked about what the team expects.
I don't think there's a player on the team that cares that we hadn't won there since 2003. These guys, most of these guys were what? We have 2 full classes that were born.
I was about to say, I think we're getting into guys that weren't even born yet. Yeah.
There's a whole class of guys that weren't even born when that happened. I don't think they care about that. I think that with football players, it's more about just the opponent you're playing. Now that'll present a challenge because Florida will be loud. God forbid they win tomorrow, then their fans will be super hyped for that game. They'll be 2-0 going into that game.
Right.
And here comes this highly touted Tennessee team that's a touchdown favorite in their turf. They'll be crazy and they'll be loud. And that'll be our first crowd noise, hostile environment of the year. Don't worry, I'm not going to say the swamp isn't allowed this time. But I do believe that will be a challenge. I don't see us running away with that game. It's still Florida. They still 4-stars all over the field.
Yeah.
And again though, can Graham Mertz, can they score enough points to beat us? I mean, maybe, but I don't think these guys on the team look at it like, oh, we haven't beat them since 03. They look at it and say, we beat them by 5 last year, and we should have beat them by 20.
Yeah,
let's go beat them by 20. I mean, I think it's a lot more with the players. It's a lot more like what's happened recently, and they should feel confident in that football game, especially if they start the year off like they should 2-0 and they're playing good football.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the Georgia thing. Have you gotten any thank you notes? The rumor is they let like 10,000 people in there extra. Like that was the big rumor of the day. So have you gotten thank you cards from people for their first game? Like they didn't have to buy tickets for them.
It was funny. My girlfriend Susan and I were at practice the other day, and Heupel came up. I sit beside her first, and he's like, you keeping him under, keeping him out of trouble. And she was like, that's a work in progress. I'm doing my best. And he was like, full-time job. And then he said, I forget who it was, maybe Dale Jones said something. He was like, yeah, we're working on crowd noise over there. You never know when someone's going to get a whole fan base to be the loudest. And he looked around and he was like, wow, it's beautiful out here, guys. Look at this weather out here. So it's not why they lost. We couldn't block them. They beat us up. But no, I mean, these guys will be ready for that environment. They've been in it before. This will be a little different maybe because last year they didn't have these kind of expectations. Guys like, us aren't sitting here going, this is a 10-2 football team. This is an 11-1 football team.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit different. It's easier to climb up. It's harder to stay there. That's why there's only a few college football programs that over the last decade or so, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. I mean, that's about it, right? Been good for a long period of time and isn't going anywhere. I mean, it's hard to get up there. It's harder to stay. I think we're climbing up there. I think we're getting up there. I think the question will be, can they stay there? And I don't see why not, but only time will tell with that. Heupel definitely knows what he's doing. That's for sure.
What about Tony Elliott? Does he know what he's doing? Because I got to listen to you on the radio today, and I mean, my guy just literally just read off the depth chart that everybody saw yesterday.
I mean, maybe, and I even said this, dude, I was like, maybe I'm being too hard on him, but when you're a coach or a player, you go through a scouting report, you watch film. It's the first game. You've been watching film on them for a year, for 6 months. Realistically, you've been watching them. And he was like, yeah, they're big. Yeah, they're big. They're big. And we were like, okay, we know they're big. And he's like, 310, 320. I was like, man, he either is disinterested or they're worried about James Madison. I don't know, but it wasn't a good look for me.
Well, he called his buddy Dabo, and he didn't have much advice for him, I'm sure. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Beat them by 40.
Yeah, they're big.
They're big. Those boys.
Did when y'all, I don't know if y'all had the depth chart release when you were here, but was there a lot of oars in that as well?
Was that an old joke, Landon? Was that an old joke? I don't know. I never would have paid attention. None of the guys on the team would pay attention to it if they did. I think we know who's going to be out there. It's going to be all the guys that were out there last year, and there's going to be some transfers that are out there, and there'll be some young guys that get sprinkled in. Arion Carter will play. I mean, that dude not going to start, but he'll play. And God forbid Beasley or Peely, who are both going to be really good, I think. Mm-hmm. If one of them gets hurt, Arion Carter will go in there. He may be the guy that never comes out.
Speaking of old, is Peely might be the same age as you.
He's 25 years. He's a great. You know what though? He's a leader. He's really smart. I was talking to someone over there, and this is how they described Peely. They said if he would have been playing at Alabama for the last 2 years, he would have been a second or third round draft pick already and be playing in the NFL.
That's crazy.
He's at BYU, two-time captain and made a lot of plays, but he has an opportunity this year to be on this stage that the Southeastern Conference that Tennessee puts you on national TV and light the world on fire, man. I mean, I have really high expectations for him. He is a really good football player.
That's awesome.
Um, wanted to ask you too. I want to go back to recruiting real quick. We're talking about Tennessee climbing. Was Tennessee, when you got that call, were you like, I know exactly everything about them, like, let's kind of do this? Or what was that kind of process like to get to Knoxville?
So I mean, it's a little different. The era that it's pre-social media and all
Mhm.
that. Obviously, I knew a lot about Tennessee. Peyton Manning had just come through there. They just won a national championship. I was a little different than some, though. I was more of a basketball and a baseball guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I was always going to be a shooting guard or a pitcher. That was my whole life. That's what I did. And then I started playing football and started getting a lot of looks for that. And I actually said early in my recruitment that I was going to stay in the Pac-10 at the time because I didn't know if basketball, baseball, football. I had offers at most of the schools for all three sports, and so I said that's good enough. I'll probably just stick around here. And then Michigan called, and I said I was going to stay, and then they never called again. And my uncle Danny, who spent years in pro sports and all that, said, "Don't you only get recruited once? Don't limit it. You never know." So Coach Fulmer called. He actually had Marcus Satterfield, who was South Carolina's offensive coordinator last year. Sat called me on the phone and said, "Hey, this is Marcus Satterfield, University of Tennessee. I have Philip Fulmer here to talk to you." I remember being like, "Oh, hey," and he was like, "Hey, you watched a video of me online that I did for a buddy of mine that was starting like a recruiting service, just running around in athletic shorts throwing the ball." And he said, "I want to offer you a scholarship to the University of Tennessee." And I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "If I can get you down here, you'll want to come here." And so I kind of made my mind up then. I was like, you know what? It's why not? I'll take a trip down there. I came for the 2003 Vanderbilt game, and this is pre-social media. Everyone, the Walk knew who I was. You go to Oregon State, UCLA, you go to these places, they kind of care. They don't care. That was like,
Hey, message boards were hot then, though.
Oh my
Your
gosh!
photo was going around to a lot of old men on message boards.
I'm walking around, and I'm like, this is crazy. So then we go into the game we're playing Vanderbilt with, and at that point, they hadn't beat us in like 20 something years. And I asked the lady, Jason Michael used to coach in the NFL forever. It was his wife who was showing me around. And I said, if they haven't beat Tennessee in like 20 something years, why are all these people here? Because on the West Coast, guess what? They're not going to that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, that's just what we do. And I was like, huh. Everyone wooed at the same time. It was crazy. And I was like, we ended up killing them. I was like, they know we're going to kill them. And it's still full. Right? Fast forward, there's been years lately where we know we're going to get killed. And it's
still show up.
I do it. I don't get it, but I do it.
Different world. I think about all the time that I chose to come here. It's been great for me, and I love following it still.
So confirmed, Erik Ainge looks good in shorts. At least Philip Fulmer thought so.
Yeah, he watched me in basketball practice dunk, and he goes, "Man, I thought what did he say? He goes, you ought to be able to run the ball a little bit better. You can dunk off 2 feet outside the key." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a little different, coach. I don't know."
That agility.
No one's trying to kill me.
I was pretty young, so I don't remember. I remember like highlights of games, like 04 Florida, for example, like watching on TV, and a few of your games. I was actually in, I think UNLV. Your freshman year was my first game ever. Sorry to age you like that again, but we I don't remember on TV, but nowadays the Danny Ainge being your uncle would have been repeated 1,000 times a broadcast, like the Dobbs report card storyline. Yeah. Was it? Did you get a lot of questions about that? I'm just curious. Like, what was ESPN like that? Okay.
Yeah, they did that all the time. He actually came to the 06 Cal game.
Okay.
And Danny is BYU's Peyton. He's like Peyton to us. Danny is BYU's Peyton.
Gotcha.
And he came here and he was like, oh my gosh. I mean, this guy played in Boston Garden.
Right.
He played in Yankee Stadium. I mean, he's like played all over the place. And he came here for that 06 Cal game. And that was a unique game too, because we should have been good the year before. I was banged up. We were all hurt. We ended up being really bad. And it wasn't just the players that had that. You asked a question earlier about that pent up, game one. Of all the games I ever played in my life, I've never been around a fan base or coaching staff or players that were all on the same page and so ready to scream or hit somebody. We knocked the dude out on the opening kickoff. They couldn't even hear themselves talk on the sideline. They literally couldn't even. I know Bama was loud last year, but there were times in that 06 Cal game when you could still have 107,000 people in there where it was so loud that even when we were on offense, you're screaming the play in the huddle. It was crazy. Crazy.
Do you still see a ton of? I see them often. Sometimes on like sorority girls and stuff. But the number 10 jerseys still.
Dude, they're all old Adidas bought from Goodwill or hand me at this point. But yeah, they're out there still. I always point them. I'm like, hey, look, there's still someone's got a 10 on.
Yeah. So what do you think about Elijah Simmons wearing 10 this year?
I mean, we've had some average 10s over the years. I'm not gonna lie. I love Squirrel. I think he's gonna kill it. But I love it. I like when the big boys wear the little numbers.
Okay.
But you should. If you're gonna be 300 plus pounds and have a single or a small digit, you better be a baller. So he needs to be healthy this year and have a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think we were talking about the other night. If an offensive lineman's good, let him wear a 10. Why not?
Why not? Yeah,
I don't know why we're limiting.
Darnell Wright.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been perfect. Trey Smith would have been a good candidate to wear a single digit. I think your best offensive lineman should be able to wear whatever number they want.
I agree with that. What are you gonna do? Tell them no?
Exactly.
Yeah. Good luck. If you don't want them to, you have to deliver the news to Trey Smith.
You have to get it off his back. There you go. You wear it, you can take it off.
And you only got sacked 3 times your senior year, if I read that correctly. So
NCAA record, no one will ever break it.
Yeah, no, not in this day and age for sure. So would you give the 10 jersey off your back for one of those offensive linemen?
Would I have let them wear the 10?
Yeah, y'all swap jerseys.
Again, what am I going to do? Tell them no?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Starting at quarterback, number 64.
Yeah.
Erik.
That'd
Honestly,
be awesome.
Yeah, it would be awesome. Like that'd be Heath Schiller times like 4, right?
Yeah, right.
What was your favorite uniform combo? You actually got to wear, unlike a lot of Tennessee players until 2015, you got to wear a throwback.
I'm lame like that. I never even paid attention to it or cared. I still am kind of like that. Like, I know everybody cares about uniforms. As long as when we put the TV on, you know exactly who's playing. That's my biggest beef. Like Oregon and some teams that put it on, and you're like, who's that playing? Like, one of the cool things about Tennessee is as soon as they're on TV, you know who it is. Right. So that's I guess I kind of care about that. A new combo this year, they're gonna. But I mean, I'm old school like that. I like basic uniforms.
So you didn't get juice for the orange pants when you saw them in the locker? You weren't like, oh yeah.
No. A bunch of the guys got excited about it, and I remember being like, "This is stupid. You still have to play the game. Who cares?"
Hey, look good, feel good, play good. That's what I say.
I was the try to feel the best I can and make it through the game.
Yeah. Also, like your unique armbands that you did, like halfway up, and Olivier Comlois did them, and I referred to him as Erik Ainge at one point, but I don't know if that. Like, I don't know if he played better or not.
Homer lied to me. He told me I'd get used to the heat. It still hasn't happened. I would sweat so much at practice and in game that I had to wear long sleeves and then roll the sleeves up. So early, I tried the wristbands. That didn't get it. So if you notice, like my junior and senior year, I always have the white, like, thermal long sleeve neoprene shirt on. And then I would roll it up just to make it to where I could, like, not drop the football.
That's probably smart, considering your job.
Down south humidity. If you're born in it, you got a chance. If not, it's real.
Yeah. I mean, I was born here and I still don't think I'm really cut out for it. So this weekend, Nashville, you going, number one?
Yep. Susan and I are heading Friday, and we're got us a hotel downtown, and we're going to go support our Vols.
Heck yeah. What do you think about neutral site games? You love them, hate them?
I mean, it's more fun to play at home.
Yeah.
But
1000%.
I mean, I don't like have like a super hot take on them like some people do. I get why they do it. I will say this though, learning that the coach's dead period ends tomorrow and Friday is like open. We're going to have an entire staff in Nashville going to every high prospects games on Friday night in Nashville. Yeah. And that's a win. No one else is playing there. No one cares if Tony Elliott goes. We're gonna have Josh Hyde. We're gonna have all these guys at every 5- and 4-star player in Nashville going to watch them play. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Brentwood Academy, Innsworth, Lipscomb Academy.
All of them are.
Yeah. That's kind of all I got. One last question, Caleb. Do you have another question?
Yeah, so we're going down to Nashville. We'll be there on Friday as well. We're going to be at Thomas Edwards, another VFL. He's doing his release party for Running Through the T, his new song.
Cool.
One word, one sentence, couple words, Running Through the T. What's it like? Like, what is that feeling? What's it mean to you?
Man, I got upset because I didn't get to start my first game. He let Britt Schaefer start the first game. So he got the first 2 series, and I got the next. So we both started, but Brent became the first true freshman to start game 1 of an SEC football schedule ever. And I remember being like, man, that'd be cool. Then I ran through the tee, and my literally stadium, I could feel my heart beating in my shoulder pads, and I felt like a linebacker, like I was going to go kill somebody. And when I was like, I'm so glad I don't have to go play quarterback right now. I'd probably throw Milton 2021 times 1,000. I throw that 100 yards past somebody. So, but it never gets old. I think that's the cool thing. It's just as exciting every single time you do it. It's that cool that it just never gets old.
I film it every time. I don't know why. I usually don't even send it out, but I film it every time.
Yep. That's awesome. I love it. I'm with Landon. I film it. I do miss something from my childhood, your playing days. We don't get the camera flashes from everywhere anymore at night. And don't get that. I hate that. But I guess we've replaced it with fireworks and the tea lights up. So, you know.
Oh, yeah, it's still cool.
We adapt.
So I got one last question. What would you rather be? Would you rather be a punt returner with no blockers or the police officer in Athens, Georgia that has to keep calling Kirby Smart?
Oh, man.
I like that Landon's trying to get you in hot water with Georgia fans again. This is fun.
So I'm gonna go punt returner, no blockers.
Okay.
Because I've been hit like that. We played at Cal my senior year, and it was early. I don't know if you remember the play, but it was a sack fumble, and they picked it up and returned it for a touchdown. And it's a slide protection. So the line all goes one way, and then the back goes the other way and goes and chops down the in-man on the line of scrimmage. Usually it's a D-end or whoever, or a guy blitzing, whoever the last guy is on the line. The running back goes away from the slide and chops him down, and then you kind of have that, it's slide protection. So I'm under center, and I'm dropping back, and the line's sliding right. And then as I'm looking downfield, I see Arian flash in front of me, and he's not supposed to be in front of me. He's supposed to be on the other side. And I remember going, because I knew and they were blitzing, but I was fine. Who cares, right? If they blitz, if you got it blocked, I mean, those are touchdowns. So I'm dropping back, eyes big, like, let's go. And then I see Arian go in front of me, and I'm like, oh, no. Oh, right in the back. Ball goes flying. They picked it up and scored. So now I was literally just standing there, and he had like 20 yards to run as fast as he couldn't hit me. So been there, done that. I'll be the punt returner.
All right. That's probably a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Stay away from the Georgia stuff. Do you think Georgia's intimidating now? Have you changed your take?
It was very loud last year. They did do a good job. I don't like to think I had that much power to make them loud for the first.
No.
That might have been a surreal moment to be like, all right.
So like, and they're a rejuvenated fan base, and they have the best football program in the country right now. So that's why they were loud. But when we used to play there, it was not intimidating and it was not loud. You didn't have to worry about too much crowd noise or anything like that. But I'll give them that now. Looks like from last year moving forward, it does look like it will be a loud, hostile place to play.
Yeah. Yeah, the coolest thing they have is the bushes. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
I mean, the barking stuff's got to go though. Like if you're a grown man, like come on, like don't.
Yeah,
that I get on board with. But it was loud. I'll give that. I'll give it to them. It was loud.
You want to give us a record prediction? You got one? Have you made one yet?
So I'm saying that if this is my scenario, if Tennessee wins their games, goes to Tuscaloosa, fights it out, doesn't win, loses to Alabama at Alabama, and then hosts Georgia as a one-loss team, that game will be for the East. And if we're playing them here with our fans in our stadium and everything's on the line, I think we have a legitimate chance to do that. So I'm gonna say either 10-2 or 11-1, but it would not shock me if we're playing them in November for a chance to win the division in the last year of division play. Man, Knoxville will be. We'll say South Carolina is going to be the craziest it's been in a while, and just a few weeks later it'll be Georgia, and Georgia will be the craziest that it's been here in a while. And they won't be able to hear, and they'll have to deal with all that. So somewhere in that 10 or 11 win team if they stay healthy. If Joe stays healthy, Joe's got to stay healthy. Nico's going to be great. I don't know how ready he is yet. He's going to be a great player, but if Joe stays healthy and plays the way he can, then there's no reason that we shouldn't be that good.
Yeah, I agree.
I love the take on the Georgia game because that is spoken like a true Vol fan. I mean, that is 28-year Vol fan. That's it.
That's it. I mean,
you're in it.
Game is for all that, then I mean, this whole fan base in this town will be all in on it. It'll be nuts.
Oh yeah, it'll be a madhouse. South Carolina is going to be a madhouse too. I mean, there's a couple games on the schedule. I'm like, that's going to be insane. That's going to be insane. That's going to be insane.
I just can't wait to see the arrest report after the South Carolina game because I think there's going to be a lot of built up aggression.
Oh, we'll be fired up. That'll kind of be like that 06 Cal game I was telling you about. Our fans will be just as excited as anybody.
Yeah.
Man, I really appreciate it. Hope we can do this again soon and talk some more about your time and then obviously the expectations for the Vols. Before we let you go, just a reminder, everybody, you can listen to him every day, 9 to 12 with Brian Rice. We will mention Brian. I'm sorry, Brian. I apologize. But yeah, you can listen to him there, follow him on Twitter, all that good stuff. We appreciate it, Eric. I really do.
No problem, guys.
See you, brother.
Yeah.